your devices.
Wow, you guys are lifesavers.
That's what you think.
In action.
The Walking Dead Dead City, exclusively on AMC and AMC+.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. President Donald Trump has ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to seek the release of grand jury testimony in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking trial. This, as the president has filed a libel lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for its reporting on a sexually suggestive letter it claims President Trump wrote to Epstein years ago. Well, next week, House Republicans could vote on a resolution calling for more transparency in the case. And 3 sheriff's deputies are dead after an explosion Friday morning at a law enforcement training facility in Los Angeles. Sheriff Robert Luna confirmed that the 3 belonged to the department's arson explosive detail and had a collective 74 years of service with the department. It's not yet clear what caused the explosion, but the sheriff said this was his department's worst loss of life in a single accident since 1857.
People are a little surprised by this for certain.
Reaction coming in after CBS announced next season of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert will be its last. The late night host shared the news Thursday. CBS says a cancellation was a financial decision and not related to the show's performance or content. There has been speculation about Colbert's future with CBS as his parent company Paramount merges with Skydance Media and after it settled a recent lawsuit with President Trump. That's your Spectrum News in 90.
Welcome to The Big Deal. I'm Josh Robin, Chief National Political Reporter at Spectrum News, in for Errol Lewis. Thanks for joining us. This program focuses on the future of our country and its people. The big deal this week is the controversy over the Trump administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case. As President Donald Trump approaches 6 months in office this Sunday, he's under intense pressure from his base after the Justice Department announced it would not publicly release any more documents related to the convicted sex trafficker. On top of all that, a bombshell report by the Wall Street Journal this week revealed more about the extent of President Trump's past relationship with Epstein. We're going to talk about all that and more, but first, here is President Trump's change in tone about the case from last year on the campaign trail to now.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes.
And joining me now with more are 2 top political analysts, Holly Gregory, political anchor for Spectrum Bay News 9 in Tampa, Florida, and Jason Fechner, political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Great to see you both. Friends, we'll start with Jason. There is a major story in the Wall Street Journal that President Donald Trump was among friends of Jeffrey Epstein, who contributed letters to an album for his 50th birthday back in the early 2000s. The president says that this is a fake letter and now says that he will sue the Journal. I wondered, is this taking away and continuing to distract from the president's recent political wins and his upcoming agenda?
Josh, wonderful to see you. And the short answer to that good question, of course, is yes. And that is what his Republican defenders on Capitol Hill and pundits on cable news, that's what they've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 days now. We're not talking about what Republicans have done for family finances, and they are arguing, too, that this is just another way for the media to talk about anything beside what they perceive as political wins out there. Making their job harder, of course, President Donald Trump himself. He continues to post on social media about all of this. He's talking about his previous relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He's talking about, that threat now to sue the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch out there. So it's not going away, and that, of course, keeps it in the news cycle. And it's interesting to watch into the weekend, of course, the different messaging that the White House has had and those Republican defenders have had. President Donald Trump, J.D. Vance out there saying that this is all fake. He never wrote this letter. They have no idea what it is. His Republican defenders saying, well, he knew Jeffrey Epstein, of course. He's talked about it. He's disavowed him. He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. And obviously that kind of keeps this going. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they can get that messaging on the same page into the weekend.
Holly, the Journal stands by its reporting. I wonder how you see this familiar attack on the press playing with the president's base, because it comes just after the president this week dismissed a sizable segment of that very base, those who see in the Epstein case a reflection of cover-up and government rot. He said, my past supporters have bought into this baloney, although he used another term for baloney, hook, line, and sinker. He called them weaklings, and he says he doesn't want their support anymore. So is he changing their focus now on the press, to the press?
Well, Josh, I've been watching very closely the reaction to all of this in MAGA world, particularly that small core that really cares the most about Epstein and has over the years. And when he came out and really swatted them down and called them weaklings and let them have it, it was like, whoa, where did that come from? They were stunned, they were hurt, they were confused. Today, different reaction, though. It's like, oh, this is why he was so mad that we were continuing to elevate this, because the White House knew that this Wall Street Journal story was going to come out, and Trump's mad about it. So now they're rallying back behind him. And the reaction to this has basically been, this is garbage, this is fake news. His supporters do not believe this article. Even Elon Musk today was like, this supposed letter doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard Trump say. And there's also been like, even if it is true, which we don't believe it, but if it is, so what? It's basically locker room talk at a time before anybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. So now there's this rallying back again to Donald Trump from the base over this issue.
Jason, I wanted to broaden this out a little bit. We've done a lot of reporting about how Americans' trust has plummeted in our institutions. I'm talking institutions like Congress, newspapers, the Supreme Court, even the church. Well, Gallup has been doing this since 1979, and yesterday's poll shows that we remain near a record low. Just 28% of Americans say that they trust these institutions. I should note that Republican confidence is up, Democrats are down, but even Republicans still well below 50% trust. So I wonder, Jason, if you see Epstein as a sign of all of this.
Yeah, Josh, well, Americans are much more cynical and prone to controversy and conspiracy out there. That's not breaking news. So possibly the Epstein controversy folds into that a little bit right now. But you really touched on it there. It has differed over the last year between Republicans and Democrats, specifically on confidence in the institution of the presidency. For Republicans, it's up by almost 70 points in 1 year. For Democrats, down by nearly 60 points, according to this new Gallup poll. So basically, summed up, it feels like, yes, we're at rock bottom when it comes to confidence in our institutions out there. But if your folks are the ones running those institutions, you feel a little bit better than those who are kind of out of the conversation right now.
Holly, a final question to you. We have about a minute left. The president knew Jeffrey Epstein, obviously. He associated with him. No one is doubting that. He complimented him. They were photographed together. I just wondered, why do people continue to trust his administration for delivering the truth about what exactly happened?
No doubt about it. They were in the same social circles back in the day. Palm Beach, rich people, playboys together. How much of that relationship there really was is still kind of in question. But there is this well-known story of a member at Mar-a-Lago said to Trump, hey, this guy's a creep. By the way, he made a pass at my young daughter. And as the story goes, Trump kicked him out of the club, and that was the end of whatever friendship he had. There's also the belief that, do you really think that the deep state, if they had the goods on Trump Epstein, would have just said, we'll just sit on that and give it a pass? Nobody among the base believes that, so they don't think there's any there. As to, is he the guy to finally bring this all to light? Well, they see who he's elevated to positions to do that. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, to a lesser extent Pam Bondi. They've, said for years, if we ever get in, we're going to bring this all to light. So there's disappointment because Epstein really represents elites getting away with it, and that just doesn't sit well with the base.
We'll have to leave it there. Holly, Jason, thank you so much. Coming up, we'll tell you about the change in the nation's approach to renewable energy. That's next here on The Big Deal.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Bring it to the party. Bring it to the top. Bring it to the party. Never gonna stop.
Enjoy. Unwind. Connect. With Spectrum TV On Demand. From the latest hit movies you've been waiting to watch to your favorite comfort shows and more, all available instantly for you to stream. Create the all-around entertainment experience you've always wanted with Spectrum TV On Demand. Browse over 80,000 on-demand titles today.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
We are back with The Big Deal. I'm Josh Robin, and today we're breaking down how President Donald Trump's tax and spending bill will affect Americans, particularly the nation's approach to clean energy and environmental protection. The bill will eliminate many of the tax incentives designed to boost clean energy projects fueled by renewable sources like wind and solar. Those tax breaks were a central part of the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed during the Biden administration, and it marks the latest move by the White House to undo America's shift away from fossil fuels. One of the first federal tax credits to end is the $7,500 rebate for electric vehicles, and that will expire at the end of September. Spectrum News reporter Jamie Kennedy spoke to a business owner in Sacramento, California, who took advantage of the EV tax credit.
the valves, but we'll probably try to replace them.
As someone whose business revolves around renewable energy, President of Aztec Solar Ed Murray says it made sense for his business to look into EV work vehicles.
Progressing with solar pool heating, solar water heating, solar electricity, and now we thought the next step was EV electric vehicles.
As a medium-sized business with 49 employees, Ed says his new fleet of 6 EV work vehicles that each cost $120,000 wouldn't have been possible without help.
You see FedEx out there and Amazon with these vehicles, they can afford it. We can't without the special treatment that we get from Mitra and the Air Quality Board and SMUD, the local utility. They're all giving us help and rebates.
The 3 companies Ed mentioned utilize state and federal clean energy incentives, but the majority of that federal support is gone under President Donald Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. The president calling green tax credits a scam, Senate Majority Leader John Thune reiterating Republicans' focus on fossil fuels over renewables.
The Biden administration took us down the wrong path. It restricted development of America's conventional energy resources.
In the bill, most tax credits for large wind and solar projects end in 2028, with residential solar credits ending this year and EV credits by September. UC Davis economist Colin Murphy says government incentives made clean tech cheaper and warns that fossil fuels are finite, so a shift to renewables is inevitable.
It can't stop EVs from taking over. It can't stop wind and solar from increasing deployment globally, but it can slow it down quite a bit.
Range anxiety for EV work vehicles has also been an argument against credits for such programs, but Ed says his get close to 300 miles, which is more than enough, and he's already seen big cost savings.
I just saw the bill for the electricity and to charge these was $600 a month. We were paying probably $4,000 for gas vehicles for the same amount, so the savings are substantial.
Jamie Kennedy, Spectrum News.
And joining me now with more on all of this is Carl Robigo, who has more than 3 decades of experience with clean energy. He's currently the principal at Robigo Energy. That's a consulting firm in Denver. Previously served as a former assistant secretary at the U.S. Department of Energy. Thanks so much for being here. I wanted to start with this. There's data I have seen that U.S. renewable energy is here to stay and grow. Considering the president signed this bill, I wanted to get your read on that and whether it will adversely affect our global competitiveness, like against China, which is also growing its renewable energy supply.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you, Josh. And yes, you're heading exactly the right direction. It is hardly possible to kill the renewable energy industry in the United States. It has grown too big. It is still the least cost resource we have available, but the pain will not be evenly distributed. States like Texas, where I've once served as a public utility commissioner and helped put in the first wind farms a long time ago, have great resources, have open markets, and there will be slowing down, but there will be continuation of solar and wind development, at least for the short-term foreseeable future. However, other states that were catching up are going to find that they are not going to get the jobs. They're not going to get the manufacturing. They're not going to get the development benefits. And most importantly, they are not going to get the savings on their electric bills because some of the incumbents are going to double down on much more expensive, much riskier fossil fuels that we know do not deliver the best bang for the buck. And by the way, still get huge subsidies and got even more subsidies from the big ugly bill.
Yeah, a lot of people don't recognize that subsidies do continue. They're just not for renewables. So we're told that ending subsidies for renewables will make energy more reliable and affordable. You mentioned that, and I wanted to press you a little bit more on that because there have indeed been a number of energy delivery problems in recent years, like blackouts, and traditional forms of energy are seen as more reliable. I wanted to ask you if you believe that that's the case.
Yeah, first I want to correct ending support for renewable energy will make electricity more expensive. You aim at renewables, you're going to hit a consumer because these have been the least cost resource coming into the mix. It'll make renewables more expensive, but they're still competitive, especially when you assess the total impact of fossil fuels, the pie in the sky dreams of a nuclear renaissance, the practical impossibility of large scale hydrogen, all the other things they're doubling down on, especially hydrogen from natural gas. But what'll happen here is that the industry is not just the wind farm and the solar farm, right? It is the ability to amass huge supply chains, to get thousands and thousands of solar panels made of glass and aluminum framing, wind turbines made with fiberglass and steel poles and magnets and, motors, that are generators that turn motion into electricity.
The upfront costs of an electric vehicle are typically higher than a gasoline-powered car, but EV owners save on other matters. Without these federal tax credits, do you think that owning an EV is no longer affordable? Or cost-effective, I should say?
I think it'll be affordable for those who have extra money. Who have a little bit of free spending power in their household budgets, and they will buy it for the bargain that it'll deliver over time. I have a Ford Lightning, I have a Volkswagen ID4, and I have 3 electric bikes in my garage. I can afford to do it and could do it even without the tax credits. What it'll mean, though, is that the smoky, smoggy junkers will move to people with less income. They'll be the ones having to pay for oil changes. They'll be the ones having to pay for expensive gasoline. Rather than transforming our transportation economy, what we're doing is we're just allowing the rich, who will get bigger tax credits, the opportunity to buy more of their toys, curiosities, and while everyone else will be stuck with paying the man.
Okay. We'll have to leave it there. Carl Robigo, thank you so much for your time and your perspective. We appreciate that. We're not done just yet. Next, President Trump is using the threat of tariffs to force Russia's hand into a ceasefire in Ukraine. We'll bring you the details. That's coming up.
The stories that touch our border affect us all. That's why at Spectrum News Plus, we don't just cover these communities. Our dedicated reporting team also calls them home. That perspective allows us to take an in-depth look, going beyond the politics, to see the impact on people's lives and what it means for you and your community. Balanced border coverage that tells the full story here on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
Spectrum with Paramount Plus is the entertainment destination.
You're gonna love this.
Getting oil out of the ground is the most dangerous job in the world.
It's so good to see you.
Come on!
Right now, I am in first gear. Would you like to see me shift to 6?
Stream a mountain of the entertainment you love on Paramount Plus. Included in Spectrum TV Select plans at no extra cost.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
watching The Big Deal. I'm Josh Robin. Thanks so much for being here. We're 2 weeks away from the start of President Donald Trump's new tariff rates on some of America's trading partners. Meanwhile, this week the president threatened to impose steep tariffs on Russia if the Russian leader Vladimir Putin doesn't agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine by early September. That ultimatum comes as the current White House also announces a new supply of weapons and air defenses for Ukraine. Spectrum News national political reporter Taylor Poplar is joining me now from outside the White House. Taylor, this move certainly cheered many in Ukraine and in Europe. At the same time, the Russian stock market went up. So what does the U.S. import from Russia, and how much would these sanctions actually hurt that nation's economy?
So it's interesting, Josh, when you look at this on a global scale, there's not that much of a trading relationship between the U.S. and Russia because Russia has largely isolated itself from the world economy over the last couple of years especially. Last year, according to our federal government's data, the U.S. had a $3 billion trading relationship with Russia that included everything from fertilizers to metals to various chemicals and wood products and some iron and steel and platinum and uranium. But it was only $3 billion, which, sure, $1 billion is a lot of money, but it's not as much or nearly as much as the U.S. does with many other countries. The White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt was actually asked about this in Thursday's press briefing because earlier this year she had indicated that that $3 billion mark was low and that it wasn't even worth trying to cripple. And now the White House is saying this would be significant. So it's an interesting about-face for the president, and it's something that kind of the global economy will be watching. It's sort of a slap on the wrist for Russia, and I think that's why their stock market rebounded in the way that they did if this actually happens, but it is a big change for the president.
Well, the president said that the threat of economic sanctions will also apply to countries that continue to do business with Russia. Well, what is he referring to there? Because he has not so far supported that bipartisan bill that is making its way in the Senate that has a lot of support that would really hit Russia's trading partners.
Yeah, that's right. That Senate bill, I think last I heard it was 85 co-sponsors, which in a body that is sharply divided down the middle and 100 senators, that's significant. Russia does have some key trading partners who have still been doing business with them, especially when it comes to oil, places like India and Brazil and Vietnam. And the issue is that the president is now proposing, President Trump is proposing slapping pretty high sanctions or tariffs on 100% of 100% on those countries if they continue to buy Russian products. That could have an impact not only for Russia, but also for the United States, especially with key trading partners and adversaries like China. So it'll be interesting to see if the president actually goes through with that. He's made that threat 50 days, and we're kind of counting down to see if he sticks to it. But it's something these countries are watching, especially as the president is trying to secure trade deals with a lot of these countries at the same time.
Yeah, you mentioned the real turn that this has been for President Trump. I mean, after all, he campaigned, you covered many events, he campaigned on ending foreign wars. He started his second term really sharply criticizing Ukraine's leader and speaking warmly of Putin. How has Ukraine's President Zelensky responded to this turn?
So Zelensky has definitely welcomed it with open arms. Especially since he and President Trump had that infamous falling out here at the White House in the Oval Office back in February, Zelensky has especially tried to rally with fellow European leaders to win back President Trump and get him on his side. And Zelensky and his administration's whole point is that Vladimir Putin has continued to attack Ukraine, especially Ukraine's civilian populations, and that's wrong, and that this war should end, and that Putin has been rejecting the idea of agreeing to a ceasefire. And so Zelensky is open to this, but I think he also knows that President Trump changes his mind, and so we'll have to see if he stays consistent with that messaging.
Okay. Taylor, thank you so much, and thank you for joining us on The Big Deal. Political anchor Errol Lewis is back next week. Stay tuned now to your local station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Are you ready for the ultimate entertainment experience? Spectrum is bringing together the streaming apps you love. Plus, live TV for sports, entertainment, and news. All in one place, across your devices. So no matter when or where you are, it's all here. Spectrum.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum